Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the TG Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Gannum. And today I'm joined by Mojo Hill, Associate Editor of MetsMerized and writer for MetsMinors and the K-Zone News. And today we're going to be discussing the 10 things to look for down the stretch of the MLB season. Welcome, Mojo.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Mojo's this is the second time on the show, and I'm really excited to have him back on. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Mojo's favorite team, the Mets. The Mets magic is real, making an impact run down the stretch. What do you think about that?
I think this team and the fan base has a magic and energy that we haven't seen since 2016.
Yeah,
Just everything's clicking. Um, I think they do need to figure out what's wrong with Edwin Diaz, get him right again, because the main issue this year has been the bullpen. They have a solid rotation now, 1 through 5, with the addition of Marcus Stroman. The offense has actually been pretty good all year. It's just the bullpen's blown a lot of games, and Seth Lugo has been amazing, and Juris Familia's looked a little better. Justin Wilson and Luis Avilan are both healthy and pitching well, but they still need their star closer, who they gave up a lot for, to get right for this team to make a run down the stretch.
Yeah, every time I turn on the TV, I just see, on I see a Mets highlight, a walk-off home run from Todd Frazier. I see on Twitter, let's go, the hashtag Let's Go Mets. I just see, and I remember, I know the Mets are definitely a fun team to watch. I definitely get Moneyball vibes when I'm watching them now, with like the walk-off home runs, and everyone's just going crazy every game. So it's definitely a fun team to talk about and watch play nowadays. So another topic that me and Mojo were discussing yesterday was the extending of the netting at baseball games. Personally, I feel like there's positives and negatives to it. It's just a matter of like which side you're on, I feel like, of the discussion. Because some people prefer safety and some people were like, oh no, it ruins the visuals of the game. What do you think?
I actually am in favor of extending the netting because I think baseball is supposed to be fun for families to just go and watch. I don't think they should have to worry about their kids sitting too close and getting killed by a line drive or anything. Also, we saw a fun play by Jeff McNeil. I think it was last week. He was playing right field, and he actually used the netting to help him make a catch. Like, he jumped off it, and it was pretty fun to watch. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen some people say, well, kids shouldn't sit so close, but I don't think that's something kids should have to worry about, just
Yeah,
going
no.
to have fun. Yeah.
If the parents have the money and they want their kid to have the best experience, they should be able to have that without worrying that their kid's gonna get hurt by a line drive. Yeah, I agree. I think that extending the netting, I mean, as long as it's not like this huge like wiring that just makes it like you can like it like interferes with how you see the game, which I don't think is the case. I don't think there's any like downside to actually just extending the netting at all. Um, so now we're gonna talk about my team, the Boston Red Sox. Can they make a run late down the stretch, Mojo?
I'd say it's not impossible because they still have a talented roster, but it's not looking great, and I wouldn't count on it. Like, for them to get back in it, they need to go on a run like the Mets did, like a magical long winning streak.
Yeah, we had a chance. We could have taken 3 out of 4 against the Angels, but it just went downhill. We lost in extra innings yesterday. They did. There was actually an article on the Athletic where they did like a simulation. It was like a simulated like MLB season where and out of like all these scenarios, it was one where the Red Sox actually made the World Series against the Dodgers, and it was like the Yankees went 22 and 23 the rest of the way. Like the Red Sox offense was like pretty much the same. It was just like their pitching just went crazy. Like Chris Sale and Eduardo Rodriguez just went ballistic. They just had like three. They had like 2.0 something ERAs, and they just carried the staff. So yeah, I mean, and now I'm seeing articles about Mookie Betts being traded in the offseason. It's just terrible. It's terrible to see. We made the World Series. We won the World Series last year, and now we're barely even in the playoff picture at all in the wild card race.
Yeah,
Um,
it doesn't help that they play in a tough division too.
yeah, like the Rays are always there. The Yankees made moves in the offseason. It's been a tough year. And speaking of the wild card, the NL wild card's in actually a tight race. Like we have the Mets, Giants, Phillies, Reds, and Nationals all in the race for the NL wild card.
Yeah, so Right now, it's the Nationals and Cardinals. I actually like the Nationals, even though I'm a Mets fan. I love Juan Soto. I think they have a good rotation. Scherzer should be coming back soon, so I think the Nats will end up getting in a wild card. But then for the second wild card, I actually have faith in the Mets. Uh, they have some good teams to deal with, like the Brewers and the Phillies. But I don't know. I think the Mets can do it, and I don't think the D-backs, Giants, or Reds are good enough
Yeah,
to quite,
I don't
even
think the
though they're
Reds.
in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think the Reds are there. I think the Phillies just always underperform with this team. The Nationals, yeah, I would say the Nationals definitely get in. The Giants, I think their magic is running out pretty soon. The Mets, the Mets have the momentum, which is the key for any team in baseball. They have the momentum right now, so I feel like I think it's a three-team race between the Mets, Nationals, and Cardinals. I feel like those three teams are like the teams really competing for the wild cards. Um,
yeah. Brewers could still make their way in there. They still have Yelich, and I think I just saw that he's coming back to the lineup. So yeah.
yeah. So speaking of NL Central teams, the Reds, Aristides Aquino, I believe that's how you say his name, breaking home run records left and right, Mojo. He has like 6 home runs in his first 10 career games. He has this weird, awkward stance that I don't know how it works. But what do you think about him and him continuing his magical power surge? I guess, or maybe it's not magical. Maybe he's the next coming of Barry Bonds. Apparently,
Uh, yeah. I mean, he's a 25-year-old guy who hits the ball hard. He has good potential, but the peripherals do not look good. I don't have faith in him keeping this up going forward. I think he'll be maybe a slightly below average hitter going forward. Even though, I mean, I'm not to discredit what he's done. It's been amazing, but he strikes out a lot, doesn't draw a lot of walks. I think he's kind of a free swinger, and pitchers are definitely going to expose him eventually, especially now that they realized just how powerful he is.
yeah, I definitely think he's having like an Eric Thames type of run. Remember, like Eric Thames, like a couple years ago, just went crazy at the beginning of the season. Had like 11 home. He was like 11 home runs in his first like something games, and I remember he just cooled off, and he's been like a league average power hitter. So I feel like that's definitely where he's heading. Maybe he turns into something great, but I don't think so. Considering, like you said, he doesn't have the plate discipline that like all the great hitters have. Um, so yeah, now we're gonna transition over to the Dodgers. They're competing with home field with the Astros. So personally, I think that's huge for the Dodgers. They always have that energy at home. Los Angeles is a Dodger town. I think it'll be really huge. I think it'll be super important for them to get home field over the Astros, especially seeing that those are the two favorites to make it to the World Series at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the Dodgers can do it. I think that'll be really big for them, especially since they've had a lot of trouble trying to get over the hump of finally winning the World Series. So any little advantage they can get like that would be huge for them. I still think they're a slightly better team than the Astros, but yeah, it's going to be close. But I think they can do it.
Yeah, I feel like the Dodgers, like me and Mojo actually went to a game yesterday, and they just like overwhelm teams like with their offense. Like even though a team could get like 3 runs against them, they'll just come back and get like 4, 5, or 6 runs in an inning, and it's like not even like it's like they're not even like trying against some of these teams. Like they just embarrassed the Diamondbacks yesterday. Um, I definitely think it's Dodgers Astros at this point. It would be pretty surprising, I would say, not to see one of those teams make the wild card. I could see the Yankees maybe beating the Astros if their bats get really hot, but other than that, I don't really see a team, especially in the NL with the Dodgers. I don't see a team beating them unless like they just completely underperform. Now, speaking of teams that have made the World Series, the Red Sox with Mookie Betts. There's been trade rumors for this offseason. Um, Mojo, what do you think about those? Because they're saying they could trade him this offseason because they could get young arms in the rotation, maybe replenish the farm system, and maybe roll forward with that team.
Yeah, I actually think that would be a good idea for the Red Sox if they don't end up competing this year, because they do not have a good farm system right now. They definitely, as you said, need pitching. And Mookie Betts could get them a haul. He's a really good, still relatively young player.
Yeah, I feel like he's only like 26, right? 26, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. If they don't compete this year, I don't think they're going to be going anywhere in the future. So I think it would be a good idea to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, for Mookie Betts, I mean MVP, you would need at least like two, I would say two like major like really good young starters because our offense has not been the problem at all. We still have Raph Devers, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Andrew Benintendi. I feel like could still improve. He's had a I would say he's Benintendi's really I would say he's like disappointed, but he hasn't performed as well as people would hoped. He has a home run swing, but he doesn't show it off much. But yeah, I mean Mookie Betts. I mean, I feel like for a player of his level, he's only valuable on a team that's ready to win the World Series. And if we don't go anywhere this year, and nothing happens, and like Chris Sales can't get back to his old ways, and David Price and Rick Porcello continue to regress, I feel like getting young starting pitching is the way to go, especially if you have them for years of team control, and then you build the offense around Devers and Bogarts, which I feel like is smart because they're two really good players. All right. Speaking of players who've underperformed, we have Marcus Stroman so far. He's underperformed in his first two starts with the Mets. What do you think about that trade now, Mojo? Do you think it was a smart idea for the Mets, and do you think he can turn around and help the Mets make the playoffs in the wild card?
Well, as far as the trade, my opinion of like the actual trade hasn't really changed much. They're still obviously yet to sign him to an extension, but that would make me a lot happier if they did. And like I said this from the beginning, like I'm not the hugest fan of Marcus Stroman, the pitcher, but I am a huge fan of Marcus Stroman, the person. So like his first two starts weren't great, but he's still really fun to watch. He has a fiery passion that is just special to watch, and I think he's still going to be a very good pitcher, like low to mid threes ERA for the Mets down the stretch. And so yeah, the first two okay starts don't really worry me that much, especially in that second start, he showed a lot of like grit and to get out of some of those jams and keep the Mets in the game. And I can tell he really cares, and I just like him a lot as a person.
Yeah. Another team that's trying to make the playoffs is the San Francisco Giants. They had that magical run, similar to the Mets, just early in the season. Mike Yastrzemski is just going crazy. Um, there's a tweet on Twitter that Mike has more home runs in his rookie season than his grandfather did, Carl, the legendary Hall of Famer, and that made me laugh. But Mojo, do you think the Giants can win for Bruce Bochy? Obviously, the legendary manager's in his last season. He's retiring after this year. Do you think they can somehow squeak in, or do you think it's run out for them?
I mean, it would be a great story of defying the odds, but personally, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think there's too many good teams ahead of them. I just don't think they have enough talent. Their roster is kind of old, and just not a lot of star talent on that roster. I think their recent run of success was a fluke, and now they're finally starting to show who they really are.
Yeah, I think they owed it to him to give him a roster that could at least somehow some way make it to the playoffs. But yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere. It was a good run. At least they made some noise this year instead of just dying out. But yeah, I think that it's over, that the run's over for them. And now lastly, we're gonna talk about we talked about the Dodgers trying to get home field advantage over the Astros. What do you think the impact of Zach Greinke, the newly acquired pitcher, will be for them? Do you think he was at like that piece that was like, okay, now we're the favorites with the Dodgers. We're on par with them.
Yeah, I think he'll have really great impact in making the rotation deeper. Uh, like it's essentially adding a third ace. I think people are overrating him maybe just a tiny bit. 'Cause I think he's definitely their third best pitcher. He's not quite as good as Verlander or Cole, but he's still a really good pitcher who lengthens the rotation and should be a really solid piece for the Astros, and especially make that rotation scary in a playoff series where you have to face like the top three starting pitchers.
Talking of Garrett Cole, what do you think he gets this offseason in free agency? Do you think he gets 200 million or no?
That sounds a little high. How old is he? He's not super
He's not
young.
terribly old, but there was an article I was reading where it was like, could he be the next $200 million pitcher? I don't see it. He
Yeah.
hasn't had that super dominant year. He's been really good, but he hasn't just been like flat out dominant for like so many years. Like all the other pitchers that got like 200 million, like Greinke, Price. Uh, yeah. So I don't see it. I'd say he gets a obviously life changing contract, but I don't see anything super crazy. All right, so that's been this episode of TG Sports Podcast. I'm Tyler Ganem. I had Mojo Hill on today, and we discussed the 10 things to look for down the stretch of the MLB season. Thanks for coming on the show, Mojo.
Yeah, it was fun as always.
All right, see you next time.